Professor Eliot. How does it feel after all the years of training?
I mean, it's been like I was thinking about this actually, like yesterday. I was thinking about like the just sort of the journey that got here, and like what I did like as a kid, like doing Aikido and like falling, which Aikido like really felt like the only thing that they were preparing you to do is to fall.
Which is important.
Like learning to break fall, but like it was just constantly rolling and stuff like that. But then I was thinking about it yesterday. Like I grew up in the inner city, and so we had
Where would you grow up?
In it's now called North Hills, but it was Sepulveda at the time. So basically Sepulveda and Nordoff.
In LA, okay.
Like in the middle of the valley, and was part of the Police Action League.
Okay.
So basically, police officers would actually come into the inner city to teach them skills, and we started working on wrestling. So I started wrestling with the Police Action League, and I was terrible, like just awful.
PAL, it's called PAL, right?
PAL, yeah. And we went to a tournament, and the very first tournament I went to, and this is what reminded me of it, was because I was a heavy kid. So it was me at like 13 going up probably against like a 17 or 18-year-old kid that was twice my size. He lifted me up, slammed me on the ground, cracked a rib, and I couldn't breathe for like 2.5 weeks. It was really a humbling experience. So like the idea from going from like sort of that bottom to this super humbling experience of getting a black belt and just like just sort of accomplishing that thing, to going from like having my ribs cracked and like being completely unprepared for it, to something where I'm like, hey, I'm okay at this, which was ultimately my overall goal, which is to be known as okay at jiu-jitsu. Not great, not good, not spectacular, but just okay at it. I feel like it's sort of a culmination of that whole thing.
You have some really good moves, man. You've gotten really good, It's really interesting, right? With your circumcision guard, C-guard.
Yeah.
Good guys come through, big guys, and you're able to control them and like, man, sweep them and submit them. It's crazy.
It's thanks to you and the environment here, and gave me the space to kind of figure things out, and ultimately that's where like it sort of comes from. And like, again, I was just thinking about like as we were coming up, I was thinking about just like kind of like, how did I get here? Ultimately didn't have a choice. Didn't have a choice. My mom, shout out to immigrant parents. We're like, just get out there and go figure it out, right? So immigrant mom was like, oh, it sucks you're missing some fingers. Yeah, go outside, like go figure it out, like go do it. So coming in here, I'd never really thought like it's limitation. I just got to go figure out how to make stuff work. And so that sort of spawned, identifying some stuff, and then figuring out, oh, well, this kind of works, and I have really good grips on this side. So if I use that, I can go figure out like other stuff to do, and just sort of evolve with the instruction and the support and the team and the guys that you bring in, and it came from Iraq Lee showing like a lasso against the one side, and then getting the knee in for a choke, and then just sort of went from there. So it was awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. I forgot my train of thought. It's okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you something on the some people that have some guys that have they've had accidents and they lost their fingers, and different people. Some people are really self-conscious of it. But you're ever since I've known you, we shake hands. I'm like, hey, how's it going, Eliot? It's not a thing, But a lot of guys that I've known, actually most guys, they're kind of self-conscious about it.
Yeah, I mean, I still find myself in that space. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it just looks weird, and but I don't necessarily I no longer shy away from it. Again, going back to it, didn't have a choice. This is what it is. But I remember you had a visiting black belt come in, went to go shake his hand, and he jumped 6 feet back. Like he's like, whoa! And then
we all laughed, right?
then I went straight back in. I'm like, dude, you got to shake the hand. You got to like you're a black belt. Like, come on, like man up. So And it's been
That's
it's
funny. Especially here,
yeah,
for him to do it here in front of all of us.
guy,
Yeah.
no, but like all my life, and then like at some point I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty funny. Like I now think it's funny, and like, other people like sort of like the fact that like I enjoy it, like it makes them comfortable about how much like I feel comfortable with it, and so now it becomes a thing. Like everybody comes, oh, you should go meet him.
When you got your black belt, there was doing the shock.
Yeah, one of these. Yeah, and 150 people out there just like doing the same thing. It was awesome. It was great. Yeah.
And you told your mom was like, "Oh, go and figure it out." What would you recommend for, I don't know, people that have they like kind of a situation like that, like where they're self-conscious of it, to get over it?
Just come. Like it's the same thing. Just go train. Like there's that dude on TikTok and on Instagram who's like, get in the gym, get in the fucking gym. Just go get in the gym. Just go. Like you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna have to figure it out. You learned how to like tie your shoes. I learned how to tie my shoes.
Yeah.
That actually the hardest thing I have trouble with right now in general is tying a balloon.
Tying a balloon.
Tying a balloon. It's just like it's so intricate and it's hard to like grip. But like you can tie a belt.
I have a hard time tying a balloon.
Yeah, but like you'll just figure it out. Like there's all sorts of stuff. Like I put I do Muay Thai. I put the glove on, and so like it's hard to like hold the glove in. So I end up doing a lot of palm strikes. Okay, so it's palm strikes. Great. So I'm still wearing the gloves. I'm still doing the moves, but it's palm strikes. You just figure out. You just got to go and try it.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then jiu-jitsu is great because like I keep telling people the same thing. Like you're gonna make it your own. Everyone's game is different. Your game, Kevin's game, Marco's game, Zach's game. Like everyone's game is different. They do different things. They're good at different stuff.
Yeah.
You'll find your space.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well said. Well said. How did you get into martial? You said you were telling me about Aikido and stuff, but what was your path, your martial arts path, and how did you find jiu-jitsu?
Oh. Yeah, so it started with Aikido and then got a little bit on the wrestling side, and again, wrecked. Like real bad
in the PAL league.
And with the PAL, I went to like the tournament. I think it was like at Eagle Rock High School, so it was nearby, but like it was real bad. I then started doing. I was working in El Segundo and living in Arcadia, which 25 miles apart, 30 miles apart, but like at 3:00 in the afternoon, it's a 2.5 hour drive. So I started doing Krav Maga. They just opened the Krav Maga studio in West LA, and I started to train there. And they were teaching stand-up mostly and self-defense, and then a little bit of groundwork. And at the same time, my sister's like, hey, there's this dude in Hollywood. He was in the UFC. You should just go check out their gym. He seems like a really good guy. And that's when I met Sensei Gokor and Sensei Gene. And I'm like, oh, this is super cool. Like these guys are like, it's sort of wrestling, it's sort of combat sports. They're going super hard. I was sweating my ass off.
Yeah.
And it was in a part of town where like as soon as you leave the gym, you get to practice it right on the streets. So like it was like one of those things. But really fell in love with it there. Never put on a gi. Until
back then
it was no gi at the time. And so when I first I brought my daughter here, I'm like, oh, this is up the street from us, this is a great place for her to go learn some really great lessons.
Yeah.
And I was coming here for a year or two. I would come and do
talk on the couches a little bit, right?
Yeah, talk to you. And then I was like, hey, do you mind if I come and train every now and again? I used to do some no-gi stuff. And you're like, yeah, sure. And we would roll around a little bit in the no-gi class. And then Mark was like, why? Like, here. And he throws me a gi. He goes, just get the fuck on here. Just get up here. And that's just sort of where it started. And then I'm like, oh, there's a whole other world when you put on this gi. Like I can use where I'm somewhat limited in no gi, I can use these attributes that I have in the gi, eventually figuring out circumcision guard, eventually figuring out these things where I'm like, oh, I can slow the game down. I can do these things to manipulate a body. But that was sort of the genesis. But I've always done some sort of martial art or combat sport. And then I played soccer my entire life. And then I played a little football. And again, awful at all of those. Just not great at any of those. But, I really enjoyed the physicality and the work and like just sort of a bunch of the lessons that I want like my daughter to learn as well. I'm sure you've got kids that are doing this as well. So. There's some great lessons.
What kind of lessons?
Yeah. Especially for kids, I think there's a lot to be learned. I took my daughter to her first tournament, and she didn't know what to expect. So there was a lot of pressure from that perspective. She was super nervous. So kind of overcoming that very first thing, like you don't know what's happening, you don't know what to expect, but still being and showing up. That's the first that's a great lesson.
Yeah.
But then she lost that first round. And my wife at the time was like, she wanted to go console her. I'm like, no. It's going to be fine. She's got another fight. And she went out there and she won the next fight. And I'm like, what an amazing lesson to learn that you're going to lose one, and that's okay. You just got to get it back out there and fight. Like, if you're not going to win every single time. What an amazing opportunity to sort of learn that super early on. And so, then she won the next round after that. And, it's just sort of, I think from a confidence perspective, it helped her. I think from just an ego, it just also like lessons learned. Like, there's so many great things that jiu-jitsu has taught her, and taught me for that matter as well. Like, I already know that I'm not going to be great at everything. Like, that's a given. That's not hard to figure out. But, just to come in, show up, learn something, try to get this much better every time I show up, and just kind of be better. Those are the lessons that I feel like that we learn.
Yeah. Learning how to lose and bouncing back, right? Yeah.
I mean, what a great lesson is for life. Like, it's not always going to go your way, but if you persevere, things will eventually work out.
And just showing up, right? Or you're nervous, and you having the courage to step into it, right?
Yeah.
And to do it anyway.
Yeah. What an amazing opportunity for us to do it. And in the low pressure environment, like, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, you lost a round. Okay, I tapped. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I tried again, and 3 minutes later, you do it again with somebody else, and you just continue on.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And something you can do for pretty much the rest of your life, right? Hopefully,
I hope healthy. So. Yeah, I hope so. And that's, when you think about, I think about that now, especially getting older. Like, I'm 46, I'll be 47 next month. Like, I think about, like, what is the trajectory? Like, how do I keep this going? And, doing stuff like TAC-FIT. And I think about, like, yoga and stretching. Every morning I'm just stretching. I'm super tight. I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. I have to do this because I don't want to be sort of locked in when I'm older. Mm-hmm. Lifting weights is super important, in my opinion. Yeah. It's important to, like, maintain as much muscle mass as I can as I get older and starts to atrophy. I wanna be able to do activities. I want to be able to ride my bike. I want to be able to come do jiu-jitsu. I want to be able to be active well into my 120s.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's coming, right? The ages, I was telling my mom, I was like, yeah, maybe mom, because you're at that age, like maybe in a few years you're gonna live forever. He's like, oh, don't tell me that. Like, I don't want to live forever. You know?
Me neither.
What's Ray Kurzweil? Do you ever follow him? Yeah.
Like
Singularity.
Singularity. Yeah. I mean, people are trying that right now. There's guys out there, like, doing, like, blood therapy and trying to figure out how to extend life out, and it's not for me.
The little nanotechnology, right? It's coming though. It's coming.
What a time to be alive when some of these things are being cured. What an amazing time for science. Yeah.
I was just talking to ChatGPT, and even like a year ago, it's like everything is there.
Yeah.
I was asking about, like, I had a little just hanging out with my daughters, where I was asking questions about them, their names, and, like, things came up, but, like, whoa, it's kind of crazy, and it was, like, really accurate.
It's getting more and more. It's getting better, right? Like, it's getting more and more features. You'll be able to, you can talk to it in foreign language. That's one of the things I like playing around with it now. Is, like, used to be you had your Thomas guide or your map, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate a city. You go to a foreign country and you have no idea how to get around. You can't talk to anybody. Now you just bring out your phone and you can tell it, hey, I speak English and this person speaks Italian or Portuguese, and translate for us, and it just does it on the fly.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk and communicate with everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The world's an awesome place right now.
Yeah, and it's only getting better. Yeah. The ChatGPT, like I just said, I had to pulled like an org chart, and I just like nothing. And like a year ago, it wasn't like that.
And it now can do, like, images and video.
Yeah, images and everything.
Yeah. Did you ask it about like the sea guard? You say, hey, if I invented
Actually, that's a good one.
Let's see what it says.
Yeah, I just thought it. What do you know about the circumcision guard in Jiu-Jitsu? See what it says. The term circumcision guard doesn't appear to have widely recognized meaning in Jiu-Jitsu. However, it could be a nickname for a specific guard technique or position coined informally in a particular gym or community, as practitioners often create unique names for techniques or adaptations to clarify. Yeah.
We're gonna have to update it. We're gonna have to show it. I'll send it. We'll send it the video. We'll tell it what it is, and that'll be it.
And it talks about the donkey guard or rubber guard. Man, it's so good. Oh my god. And if circumcision guard refers to a unique technique, it might be worth asking the person or community using the term for clarification. If you can describe the technique or its context, I can help analyze its application in jiu-jitsu. Boom.
What an amazing thing. And then eventually it'll be able to create a video based upon that. Like that's coming next. There's Sora, which is the text to video solution from OpenAI.
Yeah.
And so at some point you'll be able to say, hey, what would it look like if I did X, Y, and Z? If I grabbed the lapel, lassoed against it, put it behind my knee, and then clamped down on it, what would happen at that point? And then it will create a video to show you what that technique looks like, and then potentially could tell you, well, how do I counter that? And I don't know, does that mean that jiu-jitsu gets solved, or does that mean that jiu-jitsu gets wider because people can like try new things?
Yeah, back in the day, right? Like I remember having like these mentors, they were wrestlers and stuff, and he was like a world-class wrestler, and he was like, yeah, all the new techniques and stuff go around the world like in a year. But now with the streaming and stuff, videos inside the gym, it's like much faster. It's like man, it's like days probably.
Yeah.
Of the stuff traveling around the world.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like YouTube sort of opened that up, right? Instagram and YouTube has sort of opened all that up, and I see the guys at the gym. Marco's great at like sort of trying new stuff out and showing us like, hey, here's something I figured out, and then he'll adapt into like what he's doing, and then we're like, oh my god, that's it's a whole new thing, and using the stuff that you've shown us as well, and trying to figure out how to get that into our own games. Like it's been the evolution, I think, of the sport has only accelerated, and will continue to accelerate as people start to share stuff. I think you talked about like how it used to be where everyone would hide technique, right?
Right. Yeah, I used to have to find a guy with selling VHS tapes out of his trunk. Yeah. At the tournaments in Brazil to get kind of footage of matches, and so I could study them, break them down, or I'd record the matches that they had on the sport TV in Brazil.
Would you play it like in slow-mo? Like how, like
I would just
pause, rewind?
Yeah, rewind, exactly.
And then for how many hours would you do that?
Like as long as it took for me to get it, and then practice it or like see what they were doing.
Was there, and now I'm super curious, like was there somebody you're like, oh, like this is the guy that I want to like follow or like mimic in terms of my game?
There was like Leo Vieira. Were you here that day when he was here?
I think so.
Yeah, so I remember there was a match with him going against this guy named Paulo Guilherme, and he was doing this cross guard. There was this other guy named Haleta who was like much longer and lankier, and so he did the same. He did this cross guard game, but he did it differently. And Leo was shorter, and so he had that cross guard game, but he adapted it to his body. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh wow. And so I remember now what I would do. I would actually write down on a piece of paper, like the details.
Like we used to write song lyrics, like so we could like memorize a song.
I would replay it, and I'd be like, okay, right hand here, left hand on the like right pant leg, and then I would go to the gym and then do it,
Yeah.
And then maybe go back later on and watch the video again.
And did you ever get a chance to like talk to him, like, hey, like? Would you get like advice from him? Were you able to like reach out to him at some point?
No. I'll just study video. I still study video.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I learn a lot of techniques, is just breaking down matches, And there's of course like going to Instagram and YouTube, guys already they just do it for you, right?
Yeah. Is there somebody like now you're like, oh, that's an awesome invention. Like I'd like to go figure that out.
Man, there's just so much all the time, I think so many guys. There's so many guys.
Yeah.
So many like I love Miko Gavon, just the Rotuli brothers, but it's like stuff you can't teach, but they do. There's just so much content. You're like, oh, that's interesting, and then you try it, right?
Yeah, but some of those guys are just so athletic. You're like,
Yeah.
there's no way for me as a normal human being to be able to do that.
The cool thing is you get it, you see it, you practice it, and then you adapt it, right, to what you need, where you're at, and then also that comes from experience of knowing, hey, I can probably do this as well, in my way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, again, the beauty of jiu-jitsu in and of itself, where you get to sort of adapt it and turn it into turn those, like, one or two clicks, like, oh, if I just do this because of my limitation, because of my hand, or I'm shorter, or I'm taller, or whatever it is.
He just asked me that question, like, how did you practice the technique? I would write it down. The fact that I had to write it down. And if somebody showed me a technique, I would have to write it down. And I still have those notebooks. I saved them,
Huh. Why don't you bring them in?
I mean, I should take just pictures of it because it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny how hard it was. Like, it's not that hard. You follow your heart, right? You're just so passionate about it. It doesn't matter. But how hard it was. It's like those. I used to have to walk to school.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's snowing and both. Yeah, but like you couldn't record yourself. Like
Yeah.
Like it was hard to get a camcorder. Like it was expensive.
Yeah. I remember I had a big camcorder. It was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I would record some matches that were interesting to me. But again, I would find that my best one was that guy that sells stuff out of his trunk, because he knew the matches to watch, especially when I was like a colored belt coming up,
What's he doing now? Is he like selling?
He's passed
Oh,
away
okay.
since,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, is he selling speakers? Like, what is
He was a black belt from Carlson Gracie.
Amazing.
Yeah, his name was Paqueta.
And he obviously had a huge passion for this, and
Yeah,
it was at every tournament.
Yeah, it was just amazing that he actually did it,
Yeah.
And then Scotty, from On the Mat, the website On the Mat, him and Gumby, they started recording matches. He I think he put one of the first videos online. It was like, he was telling me the story. It was crazy, and just got all these like views. It was just the beginning of the internet, right?
Right.
And started selling DVDs, and spreading the word here in the U.S. And then he would travel to Brazil, stay there for some time, and so now it's funny, they have this Chipsa Hospital, the cancer hospital, and they do the stem cells, Cellular Performance Institute. In
Those are the
Tijuana.
guys in TJ. Yeah,
Yeah, they're like the main sponsors for the UFC now. You can see them on the apron.
Again, going back to the science, like what an amazing time to be alive, to have like stem cell therapy and be able to get and all that sort of stemmed from sort of their passion and love for jiu-jitsu, or how did they get into the stem cell?
Right. So one of the partners, his mom had cancer, and he couldn't get the treatment that he wanted for her, the best treatment in the U.S. So he had to go to Mexico. And then he was a black belt also, and then they started working with the best stem cell doctors in the world. And they're like, hey, there was Mel Gibson. He did a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about how his dad got stem cells in Panama, and they started working with the best stem cell doctors. And like, hey, we should do stem cells here. And they started, and then it like grew and grew and grew. And it's a whole. I've been down there a bunch of times now, and it's pretty awesome. It's right in front of the beach. I took my mom there. She's like, "Are we in Mexico?" I'm like, "Mom, yeah, we're in Mexico." Because we had breakfast at IHOP. It's on the Tijuana beaches, so it's really nice. It's like literally right on the border, so you can like look at the window. You can look to your right, and you can see like the poles kind of going into the water of the U.S.
of the
Mexico border. Yeah.
Oh. I didn't realize. I guess it makes sense that it goes into the water.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't been to Mexico probably since I was a little kid, so I don't.
Yeah, I had never driven in, and I went with Scotty. I went, he picked me up, and he invited me to go down because they were doing a experimental, or they were doing some kind of trial thing. He was like, "Would you be interested?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, let's do it." It was like for an MS like stem cell thing, and I was like, "Oh, just come to my house and I'll drive you over there." And so I drove in for the first time, and I'd never driven into Mexico before, and so we drove in. I was like, "Oh, this is like really easy to get in, to drive in."
Yeah.
And just driving out, because there's like you can get like a medical pass, so you kind of cut the line, the line, so you don't have to wait in the line leaving.
Is it because I see like on like Instagram, I see people like that live in Mexico and like work in like
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah. And so it kind of opened up my mind to the whole world. Like a lot of people live in Tijuana and they work in San Diego, or even vice versa. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, because the cost of living is much cheaper in Tijuana than San Diego. And then Professor Edson Sururu, he had to do a quarantine during the pandemic in Mexico. So I set him up with my friend that he has the Anthem gym, like Brandon Moreno. He won the UFC title. He was the first Mexican-born UFC champ. So we stayed there for a couple weeks, and he was telling me all these stories of the guys who are training to paddle, on their surfboards across the ocean to come into the U.S. and just all the little stories, and then the guy was telling me, because they have a lot of pride of like being Mexican. He's actually a dual citizen, just how many guys they buy apartments and they buy real estate there just to have, and then they can
Go back and forth.
Yeah. Because it's so easy, especially with like the passes, the fast passes, and everything else.
I always thought it was like 3 hours to get back in. So like the ability to go.
And I've done
faster.
that too. I went to go pick up a tag for a guy. I was like, oh, just don't worry, but just fly into Tijuana. I'll pick you up. From Mexico City. He was in Mexico City. And then I didn't know, and it was more than 3 hours. It was like 4 or 5 hours.
Oh my god. People like sleep on the side. Like,
That's great. It's like taco trucks. There's all kinds of things like on the.
do what you have to do.
In the line, yeah. But it took about 5 hours to get through, and then we made it through. I was like, okay, I won't do that again.
that guy's flying into San Diego at this point forward.
Yeah, or I can walk across, so I can park on the U.S. side and then just walk across.
Is it faster to walk over?
I mean, because then you just walk across pretty much, like at the crossing, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out. Either way, I'll get a fast pass. I'll go one. I'll do. That's not gonna happen again.
Are you planning on going back?
I don't have anything planned, but a bunch of I've told a few people to go over, like Mike is how you say his last name? Mike Rooftop, Mike Rooftop. He was like a BMX world champion, so he keeps going down there.
Okay.
For stem cells and stuff. And so
those guys break a lot of bones.
Esquia, no? Esquia. Mike Rooftop, Rooftop. BMX world champ, so he's always going down. Yeah, he's broken a lot of bones.
Yeah.
And so he's going down there all the time, and taking people with him too. So it works. Stuff works. It's pretty cool.
I hopefully at some point I'll be able to go try it out. I mean, right now, like, I'm in relatively okay shape, like nothing really overly injured.
Yeah.
Although I think that's one of the givens. Like Kevin's got a popped rib.
Happens. Stuff happens.
I know. Like during the graduation, I made a joke, but like it was legit. Like I think you guys called somebody up to get a promotion, and I'm like, who is it? And I couldn't turn my head. I'm like, because of jiu-jitsu, I can't turn around to see what's behind me. But actually, my neck is actually from wrestling.
You wrestled in the PAL League. Did you keep going? Did you wrestle in high school or anything?
No.
Okay.
No, like I said, I was terrible.
Okay.
In high school, I was only in high school for 1 year. I only went to 10th grade.
Oh, that's right. You had told me that.
Yeah.
What happened?
I tested out of high school. My mom at the time was like, "You're going to take the exact same classes in 11th and 12th grade as you will in college," and so let's just test you out. She figured out a way to get me tested out, so I tested out, and then I started going to college, to LA Valley College. Tried out for the football team there. Was not great. And then when I was 17, my dad had a stroke.
That's right.
And so, that sort of stopped going to college. I'd actually was going to go to USC. I had gotten into USC to go to, plan was to go to law school. And so when he had a stroke, I basically had to stop. Went to work, had to pay some bills, and I've just been working ever since. So I had some skills. I had some computer skills at the time, and I just kept at it, kept learning, trying to get a little bit better every day. And I went from working at AT&T to Southern California Edison to I was working at Hughes Aircraft, which is why I was working at El Segundo. I was working there for a couple of months, and that's when I found Krav Maga, and then I left there and went to start working at the studios. So I was working at Universal Studios, starting in 1997.
Wow.
I was 18, 19 years old. I'm working in television and film ever since.
But you work for Microsoft as well too, right?
That now, yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm at Microsoft. There's actually a really healthy jiu-jitsu community inside of Microsoft. There's a couple of black belts. We chat back and forth. Now I'm part of that black belt community, but there's a pretty big, not big, not huge, but there's 60, 70 people, and so
there's a thing though, like, you know, because we have that gym in Armenia, and it's a big, seems like it's a growing like IT community, and a lot of the guys they you know, they sit down a lot, and they a bunch of them train jiu-jitsu. It's like a thing, right?
It is. I know. I was
nice connection.
It's a way to like meet people and some
you
of the
can use
leaders.
your brain. You can use your brain and use your intelligence to beat people.
I mean, it's for sure. I think, you know, the sort of cliche, which is that it's human chess, is pretty real though, right? Like, you know, I'm trying to do something and you don't want me to do it, but I have to get you to go do something so that I can go and grab. Like, so I'm gonna manipulate your arm this way so that I can actually do something else, you know. And we're all playing that game together. And so being able to use your head and your brain and activate your body and do all those things is very attractive, at least for me. To be able to do that.
Yeah. The whole IT and like I think it was who was it? Who had a gym up in the Google campus?
Oh,
my God, up in San Jose area too. There was quite a few guys training.
You got Mark Zuckerberg now that's doing it as well too.
Facebook, yeah.
And Elon, I think he was going to do that fight with Elon, but I'm not sure Elon was actually was training as hard as Zuckerberg was.
Yeah, no, I think the Zuckerberg would he's training, he's competed. Come on,
yeah,
it's different. He was just messing around. I think Elon Musk.
I think he can do it. I mean, he can.
I mean, he's got the weight. He's got the weight on him, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the drive, the mind. You know, you can see he's a tough guy.
I can certainly see him. I mean, you know, I think part of the attractiveness is sort of the engineering of it all. Like, I ultimately I'm curious. Engineers, I think, are curious people. And so, how does that work?
I didn't think about that. You know, one of my favorite jiu-jitsu guys of all time is this guy named Haleta, like roulette, you know. And he had he kind of developed that cross guard with his own style, and he was so creative, and he would create all these positions and techniques, you know, from just he was an engineer. Yeah.
I think it's how does this work, right? That's the question. Like, how does this work? How do I do this? How does this work? And how do I make it work for me?
Yeah.
You know, those are the questions I ask myself. Like, oh, there's certain techniques where I'm like, that for my body, I'm not gonna be able to do. I can't bear and billow. My neck won't let me do it. So I'm not gonna do that. But is there something that I can learn from that? Is there a piece of that I can take? Can I break this down a little bit further? Can I look at the pieces as the setup, the middle, the ending? Are there things that I can apply and then tie those to the things that I do? And can I
learn enough of it, right, to maybe counter it, or know enough of it if you're not going to do it, but to know enough of it to, okay, this is what he's trying to do. This is what you do to counter it, to stop it.
Yeah, and watching it, but it's very much like watching film, right? Like and rather than writing. And for me, I just want to see it and feel it. For you, it was writing it down. For others, it's.
Can't believe I wrote it down with the pen and paper.
But you still have them. That's what's most impressive.
Yeah, because I remember how hard it was.
Yeah.
And I was kind of proud of that. Because at the beginning you don't know. It just seems so far away. You know, success. Like you almost can't see it or you can't visualize it in a way because it's so far away. Like a black belt, like being a champion black belt. It's so far away. It was like kind of can't even visualize it. You know. We just keep showing up and one foot in front of the other, writing down techniques, you know, overtraining.
Well, I think so. Listen, this is casual for me, right? Like I'm not going pro, but you did, and so like I think those are some of the dedication, the meticulousness in which you went after it, the writing down the techniques, practicing them, perfecting them, the countless hours in the gym, those are what led you down your path, I think. But like, I'm curious, like, what else? Like, do you think there's another factor? Do you think there was something else that helped you get to where you got to?
I mean, like you were talking about you finish your mom pushing you to finish high school. It's gonna be the same classes you're doing in 11th to 12th, or then 10th grade, right? And so I don't know. I think my families they're pretty smart people, and they're like educators too. A bunch of them were like teachers and stuff, and they wanted me to go to college and whatever, get a good job and this and that. But I think I definitely like think about them, like they're what they've done, like, and I think that when I was down, when I was losing, because I lost when I first started competing, I lost like 13 tournaments in a row, and it's very difficult. There weren't that many tournaments. I had to like travel, I had to like sleep in airports. I really struggled. And am I ever gonna like be good at this? Like when I was good, I was tough, right? But am I ever gonna be like a champion and be able to beat everybody? And so it was so far away. And what made me kind of like try again, like shake it off, because it's embarrassing too. You come home, hey, how did it go? You're like the top guy in your town or whatever, and how did it go? I lost first match or whatever, first or second match, And so bouncing back from that and then trying again, like where does that come from, right? So I can't help but think about my family and like just them being like tough and just being winners,
But they just like suck it up, get back out there.
They didn't say anything. It was deep inside of me, like just the voice in my head, like
drive.
Yeah, like you're gonna win, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think of like you were telling me a little bit about you, like your story, and like where do you think that came from for you?
That's a really hard question. The like having my family come here as immigrants, like coming from from Russia with a quarter in their pockets and like having nothing, and then landing here in a foreign land and just sort of like having to figure it out, like you just don't really have a choice. So for me, this is what I've decided. This is the path that I'm on. I want to go down. I want to be okay at jiu-jitsu. That's the path I'm on. Okay, so how do I get there? Well, I know that the very minimum is I have to show up. The very minimum. So that's sort of the driving factor. Is like, do I have a path? How do I attain it? How do I get there? And how do I, maybe not in a linear fashion, because some people are like, oh, I'm just going to go down this path, but I've got limitations. I'm missing fingers. I've got an injured rib or whatever. You're gonna go figure out a path, as long as you continue to maintain that drive, with a view on what you're trying to achieve, and that's at work, at home, at the gym. It's all the same.
My daughter, she's been wrestling, and she made the California national team to go to Fargo. And they have them to do one of the days like a why drill. Your why, And there's why do you need big? Because certain moments you're like questioning yourself, like, why am I here? And why?
Yeah.
You need to dig deep, right? You need to find that why. What are your, like, I had those moments when I was losing. I was like, questioning myself, like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, I think that's what I'm asking, right? Like, where like where you're down, right? And like, I'm gonna do this, or where does that strength come from?
I think, truth be told, it's probably some sort of insecurity of some sort. Like, I just gotta, like, I don't, I grew up in a certain way. I don't want to go back to that certain way. And so, like, at work, like, I am driving to do a good job so that I don't go back to how it used to be, right? I don't want to worry about, whether or not the electricity is going to get turned off. I don't want to worry about whether, we're going to get kicked out and have to move. I don't want to worry about any of those things. And so my motivation is that, and I don't want my daughter necessarily to have to struggle the way that I struggled. Also, like, I want her to have a childhood. And so, like, all those things are the driving factor in terms of, like, from a professional perspective. But ultimately, like, I think when I come to the gym here, the reason I come back every single day is because I don't want to give up. I don't want to just like let this thing beat me. And so I want to be, I want to win. It's a driving force in me. I want to go win at work. I want to go win in the gym. I want to go win. But I'm also, to a large degree, like, I'm okay. Like, like, this is not that serious. I'm not that serious about it. I'm okay. But I do want to win.
Yeah. And it's the process where you win, right? Where you keep showing up and you get like the camaraderie, the friendships, the laughs, the good times.
The amount of time we spend on the couch laughing and making fun of each other, and like especially Kevin, we make fun of Kevin all the time. Yeah, it's like this. The culture here at the gym is that too. Like during COVID was hard as well. I was going through some personal stuff. Getting divorced and figuring that out. And the team, the guys here just sort of surrounding me and coming in and hanging out at the house and watching movies and just hanging out and playing video games. And, it was definitely a family came together and support each other. Guys came to my wedding. I got remarried. Like all that. Like there was definitely some hard things that occurred. And the team here, the guys here, the family here, Kevin, especially Kevin. No, led me to a really great place. My wife now, who's been super supportive, she came to the graduation. Like she was super proud. She posted on Facebook, and she was in tears. And
your daughter to see that I was watching her when you got your black belt.
Yeah,
Faye is watching her.
They knew about it, by the way. I had no idea.
Well, no, Kevin knows it's not happening until it happens. Things happen where you don't get your you're supposed to get your black belt, but then it doesn't happen. So it's not official, right? Until you get that belt tied around you.
I told Marco to tell them.
Well, they were here.
Make sure, yeah.
I didn't see them when I looked.
Just in case,
Yeah,
show
who
up.
knows? But I should have picked up on some of the clues. Marco's like, "Hey, you should definitely come. Like, come support your pals." I'm like, "Okay." And then my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I go. She goes, "No, you should definitely go." I'm like, she's never been supportive of me leaving the house ever.
I love it.
But no, and she got here and, seeing her face and my daughter and, Kinsey's face to like lighting up and being super proud and, being part of that. And she's part of that journey too. She actually came back, like after we came home, she's like, "Hey, I want to start coming back to the gym." And so I bought her a new gi, so over the next couple of weeks she'll hopefully be back here as well.
What? How old is she now?
She's 15.
15. Man, Kevin runs a mean teens class.
I saw the video of Kevin's promotion as well. So
the teens whipped him.
Yeah,
they did a gauntlet with the teens class. It's cool.
Taught them about humility, man. That's one of the most important parts of jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
Taught them about humility. Yeah.
Like we talked about like the lessons learned, but like I remember getting so frustrated as a white or a blue belt, and like just tapping, just slamming the mat, just so
You're
frustrated.
never gonna get this.
Never, yeah. Like when's it gonna come? Like how long's it gonna be? And then you get you sit in blue belt for 3-4 years as you just struggle to get past it, right? And then again, but that's the beauty in the lesson. Lesson is that struggle. Like if you can persevere, if you can keep going, like you can go as far as you want.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, as a tool, right, for life, personal development, jiu-jitsu is such an amazing tool.
It's gonna suck, and you're gonna be bad at it, and that's okay.
Yeah. He was talking about humility. I posted a video of Professor Sexy Legs Gus, getting his second degree, and he was like, "Man, everybody talk about all the things you get from it, but the humility, nobody mentioned humility." And that's one of the biggest things that jiu-jitsu gives you. He was talking about these Harvard reviews from, top CEOs and what makes them successful, but they don't mention what, like in jiu-jitsu, that gives you is humility, because everybody's gonna lose, everybody's gonna get tapped out,
and it's okay. What did you learn?
It's okay, exactly.
I think that's again, going back to like your professional career as well. Like you're going to lose. It's okay. What did you learn? And if you learn nothing from that loss, if you learn nothing from losing on the mat, then you should try to figure out what it is that you learned. Were you in the wrong position? Did you have your leg in the wrong place? Did you not balance yourself? Did you give up too early? What did you learn? And then just try to be better the next time. And you're probably going to lose the next time as well.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Embracing failure, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even try because they're scared to lose. But,
I already know I'm going to lose, so I'm perfectly happy.
but that's a power. That's a power attitude, right? The just embracing losing, right? Being okay with losing, and with that you learn,
Yeah.
and you actually become the best version of yourself.
I would tell you, like I said, I just wanted to be this much better every time I came to the gym. Just that's it. That's
Yeah.
all I want.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know how important that is for teens? For teenagers to understand that is like,
How important Kevin's like how important it is for the teens to understand that piece.
yeah. It's I think, like, again, going back to it, like, those are the lessons, like the humility of it all, like Sexy Legs Professor Sexy Legs mentioned, and then
That is actually, that's because as a teen you're trying to prove, right? You're a boy, even girls, like you're so insecure, and it's the most important thing. Like the point, just to learn to lose, and it's okay losing.
Yeah.
You want to be okay with losing because that's how you become successful.
but how do you bounce back?
Right. For just learning, like being okay with trying and losing, Let's say the word losing is not even just trying, right? And not having the right answer, and that's okay. And just, okay, that's not the right answer. What's next? What's next? What's
Right.
next?
How do I get better? What do I do different? Like, if this way didn't work, what's the next route? So many people,
Like trial and error, right? Because even the word losing is like kind of, oh, that's like you're a loser. No, like you're trying, and in trying you're winning, and eventually you're gonna get it if you keep going.
Yeah, what they call it, growth mindset, right?
Growth mindset, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been people in my life that have come in that had similar issues, or they're in a wheelchair, or there was a guy I used to work with at Funny or Die who, when he was a kid, got hit by a van. He was walking with his mom, got hit by a van, and is confined to a wheelchair. That guy is amazing. He competed in the Olympics as a surfer.
What?
Yeah. Patrick Iverson. Shout out to Patrick Iverson. Like,
Wow.
amazing guy, amazing attitude. Was in this situation and just goes, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna continue to live my life in the best way I possibly can. I want to learn to do these things. That guy's phenomenal. Yeah. You can do whatever you set your mind out to. It might be hard, and it should be hard, but it's worth it.
I think I've said it a couple times after class too. Just I love your attitude, and you kind of just said that. Just your attitude towards your approach towards, like, I'm talking about jiu-jitsu, but it's a thing you use for on the mat, but you use for life. And I just appreciate your attitude. You're like you're gonna figure it out. Just believing, right?
Yeah.
And doing all the growth mindset approach, to your training, and then you can see that in life, right? And so I really appreciate that.
I appreciate all the support that you guys. I mean, like, what an amazing, like, I've told you this before, but like, what an amazing sort of thing that you've built here. Just not only first of all, world-class sort of education in terms of martial arts, but just the community of itself, and the support, and your support, and everything permeates down. Like, this podcast is just sort of an extension of all that.
Yeah. Me and Kevin were just talking about it. Yesterday.
Yeah. But like, like TacFit and even Açai next door, and like all of that just sort of like permeates. Like, people want to congregate here. It doesn't happen in a lot of gyms, right? You go to gym, like, you're there 5 minutes before, you leave 30 seconds after the class. But here, people are hanging out on the couch, or they're going to Açai together, and like everyone's just like forming bond. The graduation ceremony, you saw all the students together, and then right afterwards, everyone's at the gala, like partying it up together. Everyone hangs out. Everyone like there's I don't even know how many group chats are just to get formed from this gym, but I'm sure there's 50 to 75 group chats currently going on right now, of just people hanging out because they met at the gym, found a common bond. And one person could be, from one place, and another person from completely another location, and they would have nothing in common, but they just find a common bond here. So I commend you for building this.
Well, thank you for being a part of it, and you're the reason why we're doing what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. And thank you. Let's keep it going. You want to give anybody a shout out to finish off?
Just there's so many people to name, but really, I need to shout out my wife, Morgan. She was very upset that she didn't hear me say her name or and mention her during my black belt speech.
It's happened a few times. Like I talked to a few of the black belts.
So I need to make sure I shout her out. Kinsey, my daughter.
Yeah,
You know, the family. You know, you guys, Kevin. You know, Marco, Zach, Professor Murda.
Yeah.
You know, Professor Ariel. Like all. You know, everyone here. Like everyone's wonderful. Like I love the entire team here. So. I didn't even mention Professor Erica and how much time her and Kinsey have spent together. Like, like that bond and that relationship, I don't think I would have been able to find anywhere else. So, like, I'm super grateful.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.